Hey, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. The city of Oakland is officially suing the Raiders and the NFL over the Raiders' move to Las Vegas and the financial impact that it will have on the city. The lawsuit was officially announced yesterday after being threatened since the start of the year. The Raiders, they don't know where they're going to be playing their home games next season, and owner Mark Davis has said the team won't play in Oakland if a lawsuit is filed. And the Kings are back in action at home tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Golden One Center. Our coverage on Sports 1140 kicks off with game night at 5:30. Kings Live is at 6:30 and tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. You like how I say at home and then at the Golden One Center?
Yeah.
Just to really reinforce that.
Good mix.
Yeah, thank you. Sacramento enters the game just a half game back in the Blazers and Mavs for one of the final two playoff spots. It's 8:02, and it's time to put your lights up. If you haven't, Squeaky Clean can hang. Visit squeakyclean.com.
Put them up.
I'm not letting you get hurt today.
Wait, what? Everybody,
again.
Up. Welcome to The Drive. Morning. You're going to talk. Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Which one is me?
I don't know.
Awesome, huh? Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Hey, want to let everybody know that Sports 1140 KHTK is collaborating with the Sacramento Republic FC to collect school supplies for those affected by the Camp Fire. Drop off new school supplies at the KHTK studios at 280 Commerce Circle on December 18th and 19th. For a list of items to donate and other details, visit KHTK.com. And I'm sure Dave will have some additional details right now.
Yeah, go to KHTK.com, as Kyle said, to get details on that. We're really ramping it up next week. We're trying to help kids getting back into school, or school as you would have it, basically trailers for the most part, trying to get on with their lives. Just because the fires are put out does not mean they're not still rebuilding up in Butte County. So I want to make sure, especially around the holidays, we keep that same energy, as Matt Barnes said, keep that same energy about what's going on up there as we did when national TV was out there and fires were happening. So we'll be stepping that up next week. We'll be collecting all kinds of supplies, and along with the Sac Republic, we'll be doing another caravan up there. We'll keep you up to date, but start getting those gift cards ready and buying those supplies.
It's a cool thing. It's a really cool thing, and I know my mom is very excited to participate.
She is. So is my wife. My wife's doing one.
Outstanding.
So you can have your own little collection at your work or at your home or whatever with your friends, and then just bring it on down here. We will hand deliver them literally to the right people. We want to get Scott Bair here in a couple minutes. I promise to get finished with these phone calls at 800-920-1140. Was just remarking before we in the last segment that although there's a lot of hype on this team and we're all super happy with their start, they're winning at the exact same clip they did in 98, 99, and it just doesn't seem the same. And that kind of evolved into why the Kings are in the bottom half of attendance this year. What could happen, or what can we do to get more people out there and to get the craziness? And I've enjoyed very, very much a lot of the responses from my fellow Kings fans. Greg, you're on the drive. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Team Drive.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for listening.
Good morning,
What's up,
Team
buddy?
Greg.
Yep, right on. Hey, there were a couple great points made, and I just wanted to say I've been a 20-year season ticket holder, and last year when we weren't scoring and the games were just difficult to watch, I said that's it. This will be my last year if they're not competitive. And lo and behold, they're not only competitive, they're winning the games they need to win, which is another big piece. But the part I think we need to get on board, and it's ironic that it rolls down this week on Friday, is get over on one of those top-level teams. And the Warriors are so good. I think you guys have talked about on the show before, like, do they hurt basketball? Well, how excited can you get the reality is a bunch of 20-year-olds going up against potentially, in my opinion, probably the best team. I like Jordan and the Bulls as one of the greatest players in that team ever. But, this Friday, we'll see where we're at. And I think that's a part of it as well, is can we take out a top-tier team? And then at home, and I hope the fans bring it, because it is a big part of the game, and these young guys do need to know that we're here and who we are and what we're about. And, I know for a fact, because I was at all those games in the 90s, the crowd carried that team. There's a reason why Vlade, there's a reason why Bobby Jackson and a lot of those players from those teams, Doug Christie, you guys are on the radio. It all bred out of that, right?
I think all those guys understand that once upon a time, Arco Arena was the toughest place in the NBA to play. David Stern once famously said that if he wanted to introduce somebody to the NBA for the first time and get them hooked, he would take them to Arco Arena. I think Golden One Center right now, for many reasons, it's not there yet. But first and foremost, years and years of losing and bad management, horrible drafts, and relocation. Kings fans are jaded, and that's okay, number one. Number two, it still kind of has that new arena smell. It hasn't been broken into. I have no issues believing, Kyle.
It hasn't been broken into?
Need to
go break into it?
It hasn't been broken in. I'm sorry. Thank you for the catch. I will say this, Kyle. Say the Kings make the playoffs this year. Let's just say Fantasyland, the Kings make the playoffs this year. That first game, whether they're up 2-0, 1-1, or down 0-2, that first home game at Golden One Center, whether the 8 seed, 5 seed, or 1 seed, I think will be insane. I have no doubt Kings fans will bring it when called upon. It's that sprint versus marathon that I'm questioning the reasoning, and we're getting a lot of good response.
This sounds a lot like the discussions we had about the A's and their attendance earlier this year. But no, I'm right there with you. As far as like Levi Stadium, for example, it hasn't had a moment yet.
No.
Like Candlestick had moments. Arco Arena had moments. Golden One Center just hasn't had one yet.
No.
And that first playoff game, I think, will be it. You get that first crazy buzzer beater in there, or first just down to the wire playoff game or game to get into the playoffs or something like that. I have no doubt that Kings fans will show up. That's not going to be a problem.
We'll get to Scott Bair right now. He's ready to go, and we'll get to another Scott here on the Fire Wings hotline. Scott at 1-800-920-1140 will finish up this conversation. Hey, Scott.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, I'm a first-time caller to your show.
Thank you.
But I've been a season ticket member since '88, and I got my purple wig that I first got when we played the Seattle Supersonics, and I can't wait to bring it out. It's been to every playoff series we've ever had.
And you're just like a lot of fans, waiting like a cock back like a slingshot, waiting to explode come playoff time, huh?
Well, yeah, but I still have my Sac Kings shirt on right now. I've got my Sacramento Kings watch on and my hat, and I've painfully gone to a lot of games over the years, and I root the team. But I've seen a lot of people leave, and I just I'll be really brief. One, I think, is the price. The price is it's expensive for me, and it's I've got some good seats, and I've got some not so good seats, just so I can afford to go to all the games. But selling tickets is a lot harder now, just because people just aren't as interested. They're not interested in the European market.
Oh, Scott, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought Scott was done and he was moving on. Scott brings up some good points about season ticket holders, and the resale market, et cetera. And that's a lot. We've heard a little bit of financial, but I think also a lot of people are willing to pay that price if it's a good team. And a lot of people are gun shy right now, but I think that number goes down and down the further we get into the year and the more successful they are. One guy on the text line says it's because of the cup holders. Why don't you get out of here with that? Cup holders. There's no cup holders in the front row. All right, joining us right now. He needs no cup holder. NBC Sports California has done a phenomenal job forever on these Oakland Raiders, soon to be something else Raiders, and we have all kinds of drama to talk to him about today. Sorry for the late hit, Scott. That is our fault. We've been having phone issues. Welcome into the drive for your weekly 8:05. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, and you're right. I don't need a cup holder when I have a beer helmet. It's so much easier. It's hands-free.
But you are a journalist, so I assume you keep it professional with NBC Sports. You got to have the logos. You have to have the press pass in your ear like they did back in the 50s. I understand.
Yeah, it's just I just need to keep my hands free. I have to be able to take good notes, so that is important.
Scott, I want to talk about the game because guess what? The Raiders won a ball game, and they won a ball game over the Pittsburgh Steelers in thrilling fashion, really the second week in a row, despite the loss to the Chiefs. That they were kind of in it at the end against a fellow AFC opponent that they, according to Vegas, had no business being in. But speaking of Vegas, the big drama yesterday, the city of Oakland files a lawsuit against the Raiders. I'm not going to ask you to be an attorney, Scott, but I am going to ask you your thought. Does this greatly decrease the odds of the Raiders playing in Oakland next year?
Oh, yeah. It definitely does. I think right now everybody's in silver and black. They're pretty pissed off about this whole thing. I'm not sure about the level of optimism that it wasn't coming, but I think given that the threat of this lawsuit was first put on top of the Raiders' plates in early September, and then it waited and waited and waited and waited, and they had a lease negotiation to try to finalize a deal in Oakland, and then now they're here. I think the reasons why the Raiders are upset is the reasons probably why it was levied at this time, because there isn't a lot of time to kind of get things worked out from finding another venue. So yes, to answer your question directly, it does decrease it significantly. The Raiders have been searching and evaluating contingency plans, but they weren't heavily invested in finding a new spot clearly until now.
So way, way, way too early for this, but let's just philosophize live on radio. If they don't play in Oakland next year, I'm assuming it's likely they play one, maybe two foreign games, Europe and or Mexico. I was looking at all the options yesterday, and Scott, you're more versed than me. Where do you kind of rank the most likely locales for them to play their home games?
Yeah, I still think that assuming that it's not Oakland Coliseum, and I'm not saying that that's dead,
sure,
but I would have thought that's a safe bet. Now I think it's kind of a crazy one. So kind of like betting on the Raiders against the Steelers.
Right.
But so stranger things can happen. But I look at Levi Stadium and I know how much Mark Davis doesn't want to go there. And I know Jed York would probably, just in talking to Matt Mayoko yesterday, our 49ers guy, that it would be tolerated, because it's part of the NFL deal. It's set up for two teams in terms of the infrastructure and locker rooms and things like that. And it's very close. And despite the fact that I'm sure if people sit on the Sun side at 1 p.m. on September 11th or 12th, that they probably wouldn't agree, but it's a pretty nice venue. So for all those reasons and staying in the home market. And another key thing in all this, right, is that we know that John Gruden has a lot of power in this organization, especially when it comes to football operations and things like that. And he is a homebody. He doesn't like leaving his facility. He doesn't like giving up home games. He doesn't like I don't think he would like getting on a plane each and every week. And Levi's could solve all of those problems. As we know, it's technically closer to Oakland than it is to San Francisco. But outside of that, you look at San Diego, and every time that from here on out, that I could say this is a viable option, you could come back and say, well, San Diego is an NFL-ready stadium, dying for football on Sundays after their team got ripped from their hands after 56 years, and they want a team. But the Spanos clan is hoping to hold on to their fans there, and the LA Rams are trying to grab the disgruntled as quickly as possible. Both teams are heavily marketing in San Diego. That makes that a little sketch. Arizona could be an option to share a stadium. All these stadiums are built for two. So you look at them all kind of in the corner of this country and things that are options. Las Vegas isn't one. They don't want to go in kind of crawling into the market. They want to go in with a ticker tape parade. Sam Boyd would be pouring bad money into a place that's going to be abandoned not only by the Raiders but also by UNLV's football team in 2020. Nevada Reno Stadium fits 29,000 and was built in the 60s. Yeah. That is questionable. So to answer your question directly, there aren't very many good ones, but they do exist.
So you haven't researched this much, obviously.
Absolutely not. No, I'm really pulling off the cuff.
That was the best. I was really trying to lighten it up. Like, Scott, we don't have to get too deep. You obviously have been on top of this, and so I want to follow up on the whole San Diego thing, because that's what I hear from most. If it's not Levi's, if it's not Oakland, okay, well, San Diego makes perfect sense. They still have a ton of fans. There's a lot of Raider fans down there. But kind of like what you said, doesn't it really come down to there's just no way the NFL approves 3 Southern California teams when you have the Chargers in a soccer stadium averaging 25,000 fans a game. I agree with you. Doesn't it seem like that's just almost a no-brainer? It's a no?
Yeah, and the thing is, I used to cover the Chargers, and I have a lot of connections down there, and I'll go on the radio there, and they'll just pepper me with questions to try to make me say, yeah, it's totally going to happen. You guys are going to get a real live football team back. And, I hate to come in with skepticism. I'm not saying it won't happen because, again, it's uber convenience. It's an hour flight. But you look at, the fact that the Rams are trying to work down there. They have had 3 teams in Southern California for a long time, from 82 to 94. They had 3 teams down there, and they had, and it was pretty successful. I would say, despite, I guess, not that successful, both teams moved. But I think the bigger issue here, see, I did the whole backtrack. Sometimes I talk so fast that I catch myself in contradiction.
You got it, man.
Okay. Okay, but anyway, only 2 cups of coffee today. Imagine if I had the third. So the real issue is pissing off Spanos, knowing full well that they are struggling to find their footing, and then putting what, in my opinion, even with the Rams doing what they're doing, is still the most popular team in Southern California. That includes San Diego, the Inland Empire, especially southeastern and central Los Angeles is absolutely packed with Raiders fans, and they would all easily make the trip down to San Diego like they did when they blacked out Qualcomm every single year when they played there. And in San Diego, everyone's thinking, of course, they would ship this game abroad, but how sweet would it be for San Diego fans to come down and have the Chargers be a visiting team in San Diego? I think San Diego fans would absolutely go nuts. That would be a gift for headlines and all the relocation. That would be some comeuppance right there. But again, I don't think it's going to happen for all the reasons that you mentioned, and all the reasons hopefully I got to in that meandering soliloquy.
We have been educated by Scott Bair, NBC Sports California, knows what the heck he's talking about. Well, then last thing on there, a lot of people also saying, well, okay, if you can't do Oakland, you can't do, or you're not going to do Levi's. What about Stanford or Cal? Is that in the cards at all as an option?
Yeah, Stanford is a private entity, and they don't have any interest, and Cal doesn't have any it's a parking nightmare, sure. And they do have some restrictions I don't have a bunch of information on in terms of how many night games that you can play tucked up in that neighborhood. So that may come into issue. So I don't think that those are primary options. There is a lot of speculation, guy. They've said, they're throwing San Antonio. Will they be nomads? Will they take up even a short-term residency in London, which no matter where they play, I don't think is the worst idea, because John Gruden hated maybe traveling over there for one game. But if you have 2 in a row over there and then you play on the East Coast, you know that you can theoretically be in England for 3 weeks, and it knocks out 2 of the 4 home games that you would have to give away for the London slate. So all those things are definitely possible. I think they're going to play abroad maybe more than once as they try to get through this last season. And it only puts emphasis on getting that Vegas stadium done on time. Now, Vegas, they can get things done in a snap over there, and I don't anticipate any delays, but they can't have any sort of issues now. The Raiders can't be going through this for 2 years.
Scott Bair with us, NBC Sports California. All right, so not just that there for the drama, but also Reggie McKenzie. It was official. Seems like the media kind of broke some stories that the worst-kept secret out there was that Reggie McKenzie wasn't coming back. Let me ask you this. He did a lot of good things, and certainly there were some things he didn't do right. You think he has an issue finding a job?
I don't. He might have an issue at first finding a job as a general manager, but I think he's probably, or he could be, the top 1, 2, or 3 director of player personnel, the GM's right-hand man. He's an excellent scout. He doesn't love cameras pointed at him. and that would give him the sort of ability to really do what he likes to do best. But he did a lot of good things here. He had that signature draft in 2014, and he drafted Amari Cooper, which turns out isn't so bad if you know how to use him. But there were a lot of, and who knows, maybe Gary Conley and Carl Joseph, the way it looks, are going to be full-time starters for a long time. And then you take his first-round draft picks since 2014, and you look at all of them, and they're all good. And then you think, gosh, why were we so pissed off at this dude?
Yeah.
So I think at times he was the fall guy. Mark Davis, I talked to him briefly yesterday, a story on our website about that. He only wanted to talk about Reggie, unfortunately, at the time. But he did say that he was unselfish, and he could have done things early for instant gratification, signed more bigger players to win earlier to improve his record, and maybe reap some higher picks back more quickly, but he was patient, and the Raiders should be ultimately thankful for that. Since we're on the Reggie McKenzie topic here, I thought the way John Gruden handled the press conference, I didn't like it. He kind of passed the buck to Mark Davis, and Mark Davis made the decision. Mark Davis made the firing, and I just went home after a game. And for a guy that, even if he's not admitting it, we know has all the juice and all the power, just come out and say, you know what, this wasn't going to work. I've got the reins. I'm going to look to, find somebody that fits me, as opposed to saying, well, this is Mark, and I don't know if I'll be involved in who's going to be interviewed. Worst kept secrets. That's number one.
Scott, I want to add to that because we talked about that too. I'm glad you obviously picked up on it. It's one of those don't pee on me and tell me it's raining things. John Gruden, I think obviously, and you'd agree, with him passing the buck to Mark Davis, like anybody believes that if Gruden had gone to Davis and said, hey, no, we need Reggie McKenzie. He's a part of the plan. Like John Gruden didn't have the power to save McKenzie's job. So maybe Davis physically fired him. But we all knew it was John Gruden. And it's almost like with my kids, I felt like my daughter the other day, I asked her if she took a piece of bread because the loaf, the plastic container was open. I said, hey, did you have some bread and butter? And she said, no. And she still had breadcrumbs around her mouth. And I explained to her, not only did you lie, but if you're going to lie, I guess, make it a necessary one. With Gruden, Scott, I felt like he, in effect, lied about something or played up something that wasn't true when really everyone knows the truth. And now it kind of goes to his credibility maybe later on when we really do need to believe him.
Yeah, it seems weird, and I think you absolutely nailed it. I would also add that it's creating it's false, but it's creating a level of distance, right, from certain moves and decisions that were made that, I think are unnecessary. Maybe he'll, if Mark Davis hires this next top personnel executive, maybe that makes that person easier to fire down the road without taking all the blame, at least from what's being said. But I agree with you. If everybody knows, then why lie about it? That there's no point in doing those types of things. I don't mind. It's a competitive environment. I don't mind sharing the wealth sometimes when other guys have good nuggets. And Vic Tafer from The Athletic had something in his story the other day about how John Gruden was upset at the Khalil Mack trade, technically executed by McKenzie, but with parameters based upon what John Gruden had, because he traded him to a team that turns out to be really good and therefore made the draft picks really bad. And I just sort of think, oh boy, now we're really in some strange territory now when it comes to understanding, who wanted to trade Khalil Mack. If it was Jack Del Rio and Reggie McKenzie, Khalil may not be in town, but he would still be under the Raiders' rights. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's another one of those things that let's not go through this game if we all know that it's not really what's being played.
That's Scott Bair, NBC Sports California. Go to NBCSports.com and you'll find the Raiders section and all of Scott's hard work. We have him on each and every Wednesday at 8:05 to break everything down. Scott, we appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you in a week.
All right, thank you.
All right, brother, take care. That is Scott Bair, who I just hung up on instead of putting him on hold so Kyle could say goodbye. Sorry about that. When we come back, I'm sure Scott understands. Does Scott usually hold to say goodbye to you?
Yeah, we usually talk for a couple minutes off air, but that's fine.
You text him apologies.
Yeah, I'll shoot him a text. Hey, it's time to call your local Geico agent, Vince Harris, at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050.
Kyle's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Coors Light. Coming up next, right here on The Drive, Sports 1140 KHTK.
Hey, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. I swear I have them. Hang on. The city of Oakland is suing the Raiders and the NFL over the Raiders' move to Las Vegas and the financial impact that it will have on the city. A lawsuit was officially announced yesterday after being threatened since the start of the year. The Raiders still don't know where they'll be playing next season, and owner Mark Davis has said the team won't play in Oakland if a lawsuit is filed. And the Sacramento Kings are back in action tonight at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Our coverage on Sports 1140 kicks off with game night at 5:30. Kings Live is at 6:30, and tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Sacramento enters the game just a half game back of the Blazers and Mavs for one of the final 2 playoff spots. It's 8:32. Time for Squeaky Clean to clean your gutters. Visit squeakyclean.com. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Here we go. The drive continues now.
Wow, Cat went early there. I'm a little frazzled. I'm frazzled because our engineers are in the studio with you, which I already don't like. Secondly,
they're figuring out how to get me Bluetooth headphones in here.
You know what? We should bring that back up. He's already shaking his head. We should bring that back up after the show. Oh, why? Hey, can we get Bluetooth headphones in here? No, see, the thing is the thing bounces off the satellite in Vegas and the board, and it doesn't enter. Yeah, right. It's like a $10 dongle. Probably we can have Bluetooth headphones. What I don't like is that they're looking at me like they set something up. Like my earphones are about to explode. Something's about to happen. Or nothing's going to happen. And they're just doing this to do it, to screw with me. Either way, I don't give a dang. Because
everything's fine. Don't be frazzled. We're dealing with stuff in here.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think we're good now.
Let's do Cold Hard Facts.
Okay, hang on. We might be doing Cold Hard Facts. Stand by.
Let's do Cold Hard Facts. Brought to you by Coors Light.
Oh, no, Cold Hard Facts went away. Here we go. All right.
Hey, I like that one, though.
That's a good one. It's one of my favorites.
That's neat.
All right, where are we at?
You know, something we could do right now. Knock, knock. Who's there? Cold Hard Facts. Brought to you by Coors Light. But if we're not going to do Cold Hard Facts right now, let's go to the text line at 441140, where I've been neglecting many of your texts from the 916. Dave and his wife doing an hour segment would be radio gold. Make it happen, Dave. Well, let me see here. I have a button for that. Radio gold for you, not I.
Okay, this is fine. I'll have to reset up the whole log, but that's fine. We can go to Cold Hard Facts now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Good thing you have anywhere to be today. Cold Hard Facts, brought to you by Coors Light.
For the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact of the Day, here's Kyle Madson.
There's Kyle Madson. I'm Carmichael Dave. Cold Hard Facts.
So we're presenting these a little differently now. Rather than me just reading off stats and facts and stuff, I'm going to present something that I believe is a cold hard fact.
Okay.
And then we can debate it. The Chargers can't win the Super Bowl without a healthy Melvin Gordon.
Are we factoring in the Eckler injury too, or is it just simply Gordon?
No, it's just Melvin Gordon.
I think the Chargers can almost not win a Super Bowl right now. There's just too much in front of them, mainly the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Rams, this New Orleans Saints. But I think the Chargers would have to be across the board hitting on all cylinders. And one of those big cylinders is Melvin Gordon's. I do believe that's a fact. Now, I'm tempted to say that if we went back in time, young Kyle Madson would present a possible cold hard fact last year, saying, cold hard fact, the Philadelphia Eagles can't win the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, who plays a position far more important than Melvin Gordon.
That's a great point. See, but I guess my thing here is if you said, hey, the Chargers are going to have a fully healthy Melvin Gordon and they go win the Super Bowl, I would buy that. But if you said the Chargers don't have a healthy Melvin Gordon, I'm not sure I could rock with it. Like, he's so important to what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And like you said, I understand last year the same deal with Nick Foles and the Eagles, but I don't know. The Chargers would need to have everything go right to win the Super Bowl anyways. And I think not having a fully healthy star running back greatly impacts them in that journey. That's my cold, hard fact for today. Give me 2 more weeks, and I might have a cold, hard fact that the Chiefs can't win it without Kareem Hunt, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, Spencer Ware didn't really take off like I thought he would far for Kareem Hunt.
Luckily, I added, I think his name's Darrell Williams, in both my fantasy leagues and got eliminated from one of them last
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, Jenna Ray from KNCI, our sister station, beat me by like 60 points.
Jeez, come on.
She smoked me.
Would you like some cold hard facts?
Yeah, because I'm just presenting one now. I felt like me reading a fact sheet was boring.
That's fine. I don't think it's boring at all. You do what you want.
Okay.
February 18th, 1979. It snowed in the Sahara Desert for 30 minutes. Yeah. So far, that's the only time in history, in known history, that has happened, that it has snowed in the Sahara.
In known history?
Mike Tyson once offered a zoo attendant $10,000 to let him fight a real, actual live gorilla. He bribed a worker to open the zoo for just he and his wife to see the animals. While on a romantic stroll, he also tried to bribe a zookeeper to let him fight a gorilla. The zoo attendant said no.
Yeah, I don't think, because you're then an accessory to murder, right?
Yes, because the gorilla would murder Mike Tyson.
Yeah, badly.
Horribly.
Like really badly.
That's
maimed, maybe eaten a little bit.
I would say gorilla. I would say Mike Tyson 7,000 to 1 over gorilla.
And I'm taking gorilla.
I am 1 billion% taking gorilla.
There's not odds you could give me in any human fighting a gorilla.
Unless they had drugs or weapons. But if it's just hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. If you think you're going to get in a ring and box a gorilla.
Hold on a second, though. Are these Marcus de Queensberry rules? Are we in a ring, and does the gorilla have gloves, 8-ounce gloves, and does he have to wear a mouthpiece?
No, we are.
We're at the zoo.
We are at the zoo, walking into the cage and saying, "I'm rolling up my sleeves to my frickin' neck.
Right.
I'm going to fight this gorilla." I think
if a gorilla was trained to follow the rules of boxing and wore gloves and a mouthpiece, and it was a pure boxing match, obviously the odds go a bit down, but would you still take gorilla?
No?
You think
no, because I think there's so much footwork involved, and gorillas are more meant to be on all fours.
Yeah.
Like, they can obviously stand normally, but they operate at their best on all fours, and if you had to try to stand them up so they could throw punches, and gorillas aren't particularly tall, I think they would have a reach advantage.
Here's the problem. One gorilla punch and you're done. Like, I would like to see a stat on how hard a gorilla punches versus whoever's the hardest puncher in the world.
See, but I don't...
He would just stand up and go, goosh.
See, but I think it would be easy to dodge.
Maybe.
Like head movement.
Tyson did have that kind of peekaboo defense with his gloves up above his head. Customato taught him. All right, can we maybe that'll be in 4-down territory tomorrow. ABBA in 2000 was offered a deal to reunite for 100 shows. There are 4 members of ABBA. Do you have any idea, have you heard this story, what they were offered to do 100 shows in the year 2000?
I don't know. Can I guess?
Sure you can.
So 100 shows worldwide?
I assume so, yeah.
Okay, so 100 shows worldwide in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm. ABBA.
Let's see.
Dancing Queen.
Like $500,000 a show is... for 100 shows. Is that $5 million?
No, $500,000 a show would be. Let's see, $1 million a show would be $100 million, so that would be $50 million.
$50 million.
$50 million. You're close, but it's a little higher.
$60 million.
No, a decent amount higher, but $1 billion, Kyle.
Stop.
They were offered $1 billion in the year 2000. ABBA was to reunite for 100 shows. That would have worked out to wait for it.
$100 million a show.
250. No, it would have been $10 million a show.
What?
100 times 10 is 1,000 million, which is $1 billion.
Wait, hang on, stop.
I love this because Kyle is the anal one of the show. That sounded wrong. So this is great.
No, never mind.
Yep. See, so 10 million times 100
times 100.
Yeah. See, 1 million times
shows.
100 would be 100 million, and then 10 million times 100 would be 1,000 million, also known as a billion.
Oh, there it is.
You didn't carry the thing to the
No,
field.
I am bad at math. That's why I picked a major in college where one math class was required.
How many attacks in the year 2000, from the year 2015 to 2018, how many verified snow leopard attacks have there been on humans? Last 3 years.
75.
75. Okay, let's go back to the year 2000. 2000 through 2018. How many verified? What do you think the range is? Snow leopard attacks on human beings?
175.
If you guessed there's never been a verified snow leopard attack on a human being, you got it absolutely correct. Unlike other big cats, snow leopards are not aggressive towards humans. They are reclusive, and even if they're disturbed, they're more likely to run away than to attack.
So I can have one in my home. Duly noted.
I don't know if that would work, but let me tell you, if you had a snow leopard, that I will get on board with that as a cat. All right, we got a break. Come back with what's on tap. Finally, the first alarm clock could only ring at 4 a.m., which for you and me would have been fine. Obviously, whoever invented the alarm clock also did morning radio.
Hey, it's time to call your local Geico agent, Vince Harris, at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050. Call Vince Harris. Get yourself some materia.
Hey, I see what you did there. That was a Final Fantasy deal right there.
Sure was. Ride your chocobo down. Hey, now. Is this what we're doing? Okay, no? Just me? All right.
When we return, what's on? There's like 4 nerds out there like, yes, my favorite show. We'll be right back. We're hanging on a cloud right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Hey, nice, dude.
Man, thanks. What's on tap? Brought to you by
Backpacks.
Backpacks? I thought we did backpacks. Like 6 months ago, no?
They were so happy with your read that they wanted to...
Okay.
They wanted you to talk about backpacks.
Again. You know what goes good in a backpack? School supplies. And next week, we will be collecting school supplies.
That's why I picked backpacks.
And backpacks. No, it's not. It is. So that you can be a part of just a little bit of help for the people in Butte County still recovering from the fires. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time. You guys were so fired up and so freaking awesome when we did the caravan up to Chico. And I'm just asking for some of that same energy next week. Go to KHTK.com. There's a full list of supplies that you can stuff into a backpack. Brand new, please. Gift cards, whatever you can do. Drop them off at our location. We're also partnering with Sac Republic on this as well. We'll be taking it up there next week. We'll be talking about this all next week, so stay tuned.
Okay, I had a read to do about it, but you touched on all the
covered
points.
the read.
280 Commerce Circle, December 18th and 19th. Drop off school supplies. KHTK.com for a list of items to donate and other details.
Kings and Timberwolves tonight, Kyle. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip.
You have Timberwolves by 74 points.
I think you're exaggerating. I think I said 144-70.
I think you amended it to 138-77.
My joke was at 144-70. I think that's isn't that's 74 points, which is what you just said. Yeah, okay. Obviously, I was joking. Timberwolves are not going to win by 70. I'll say 120-62.
You're the worst.
which is only 62 points.
120 to 62. No, that's 58 points.
Is that what? Well, hey, you thought everybody in Abbott was getting paid $17.
Yeah.
Kings are 14 and 12. That line on Minnesota when we started this here show was Minnesota by 2.5. Looks like that's been moved to Minnesota by 3.5. What does that tell you? That tells you heavy money is going on the Timberwolves.
So that's what you've been doing during the break.
What? Yeah. Wagering does make sports, A, more fun, and B, more stressful.
Don't do it.
And that's why I don't do it. I do not wager on sports ever. De'Aaron Fox is averaging 18.1 points per game, 7.5 assists per game. Want to thank Scott Bair and all of you. A lot of good calls today. The Firewings hotline. Who's on line 1? 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. What do I have? I had a sound clip, I remember. Oh, yeah. There we go. This is completely random. But if you were thinking today, hey, what does Joe Montana think about all the greatest of all time comparisons with Tom Brady? Well, you're in luck. Here's Joe.
Everybody wants that title, I think, but I think it's really hard to give anyone that title. Tom obviously has had a tremendous career and a lot of respect for what he's done and accomplished. And, everybody tries to compare us, and there's just no comparison in the way I look at it. I mean, if you go back and try to compare when I played to guys who played long before me, if you look at Otto Graham and Sammy Baugh, those guys were way ahead of their time and what they were able to accomplish. You can hardly find film on them, but the game's forever changing. And I just say enjoy everyone for what it's worth. And yeah, I'm just happy to be in the conversation, but obviously Tom G's putting up stupid numbers. So it's going to be hard for anybody to catch him, I think.
I love Joe Montana so much. I really do. He's so good. Isn't it funny that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, but the other guy in the conversation is Joe Montana, and Tom Brady grew up idolizing Joe Montana in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Like that's like
pretty wild.
Somebody right now is going to school in the Bay Area idolizing Tom Brady, and they will be the greatest of all time. Did Patrick Mahomes go to school in the Bay Area?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes is really good. Can you guys please stop sending me things? God. It's a Slate article, which stop right there.
You got to know right now?
Huh?
No?
It's professional fighter versus gorilla who would win. And it's like a complete and total breakdown. Hey, but look at the conclusion. Highly unlikely the human would win if no firearms or tranquilizer guns are involved. What'd I say? You have weapons or drugs?
Congratulations. You and the Slate article are simpatico.
Me and Slate are right on the same page. A gorilla can reach speeds of 20 to 25 miles per hour. In comparison, Usain Bolt's record in the 100-meter dash roughly translates to 23 miles an hour.
Oh.
So you have this like 500-pound thing that can punch you through a wall running towards you at Usain Bolt speeds. You're not winning. God.
And it can jump. If you're in its habitat like you are inside the zoo, no chance. Haven't you ever heard of guerrilla warfare?
You're stupid. The average gorilla is approximately 6 to 15 times as strong as a human. Therefore, you will also not be arm-barring a gorilla either if it went MMA.
If you tried to armbar a gorilla, it would just flex you up to its face and then bite your face off.
Right.
You ever heard the stories about chimps attacking chimp owners? Oh, it's terrifying.
In case you just joined us, by the way, we were reading a fact in the last segment that Mike Tyson tried to bribe a zookeeper once to let him fight a gorilla, and the zookeeper, thank God, turned him down. No report there as to whether or not drugs were involved in the decision-making process from old Iron Mike there.
I'm going to report yes.
And somebody asking me, speaking of Mike Tyson, if I watched the Tyson Buster Douglas 30 for 30. I watched about 5 minutes, and then I had to go to my son's dance recital. My poor kid. Every year the school does a thing where they have a dance crew come in and they teach them like a 2 to 3 minute dance to a pop song. I think they dance to Celebration by Kool and the Gang. And then every class gets up. And my son, I think, would rather have his fingernails pulled out with a plier. Oh. But he tries to do his best at everything. I love the kid for that. So he's up there just looking just miserable as all get out.
Doesn't have the facial expressions down.
Does not have the facial expressions down, but damn it, he tried.
Doug, we're not going to get to you. Sorry, man.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Oh.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
Doug. Kyle, how much time do we have?
30 seconds.
Doug, you got 20 seconds. Go.
Hey, I think that there's a lot of fair weather Kings fans.
Thank you, Doug. All right, we will take a 21-hour break when we get back.
Doug, call back tomorrow.
We will be talking tomorrow to Sam Amick. I think Katie Christensen might join us. I'm not sure. For Scott Bair, for all your calls, for Eunice, Kyle.
For Mike Tyson.
For Mike Tyson.
For honestly carrying the final half hour of the show.
For Rich doing the whole Dan Marino's the greatest quarterback ever thing.
Stop. Like,
I
get it. I get what Rich is saying, but come on.
I know it's a neat take, but that's like, oh, Babe Ruth would be able to hit today. Okay.
370.
All right, for all of them, Jim Rum is next. The lowdown following that, and then Grant and Doug lead you into the Kings game. Have a great broadcast day right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye.